I'm not taking the
Right, so still Breakfast Central. Now, the trial of the detained leader of the indigenous peoples of Biafra, the IPOB, that's Nnamdi Kanu, was earlier yesterday adjourned to October the 21st. Now, before the trial, a heavy presence of security personnel were witnessed at the court premises as personnel of the Department of the State Services at DSS refused many members of the public access into the Federal High Court, particularly those supporters of Nnamdi Kanu. Now, our Abuja Chief Bureau, Nnamdi Kanu, shared this report, what happened yesterday.
Chants of solidarity and support for detained IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu as supporters throwing the Federal High Court in Abuja. With a heavy presence of security personnel on ground, the police would have none of it as they arrested anybody suspected to belong to the secessionist group. Counsel to Kanu urged the Nigerian government to redeem its image before the international community, accusing government of kidnapping Kanu from Kenya.
As far as we're concerned today, Nigerian image in international community has been damaged, has been bastardized by virtue of what has been taking place. We don't go to a foreign land and kidnap somebody. If the person has committed an offense to law, you subject him through what they call extradition proceedings. Then the person will pass through the instead of smuggling here through what they call extraordinary rendition. But that's a very fundamental issue we're discussing before international court and the international community.
Thronged by a jubilant crowd of IPOB supporters, he explained in details events that played out in court.
Today, the exhaustive order, first of all, that you need an order from the CJ to proceed with trial. Then two, that the detention authority, in this case the SSS, should give us access to our client. Because I complain about the way manner we see him. For the past 8 days, we don't see him. And only yesterday, we had all over the social media that has been taken away from Abuja. I complained to the court that he has been taken away from here. And we can't confirm his present state of health. So the court has to intervene and give directive to the detention authority that we should have access to him on specified dates within a week, which I may not mention to you. So, but that has been agreed, and we're going to see him anymore for now.
The trial, Nigeria's most high-profile trial in the last decade, has generated both local and international attention. While members of proscribed secessionist group IPOB are demanding the unconditional release of their leader, Nnamdi Kanu, Nigeria's federal government is insisting the rule of law will play its course. From Abuja, Nnamdi Kanu, News Central Television.
All right, so that's a report from Nnamdi Kanu, who was monitoring proceedings yesterday. Now, joining us this morning to dissect the issues is managing editor and current affairs analyst Ayo Adio, and also journalist and current affairs analyst Godi Osofe, both regulars on Breakfast Central. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Olisa.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Ayo. All right, so there was drama at the Federal High Court in Abuja, as we clearly saw. I mean, lawyers were denied access into the courtroom. Even the public was denied access in that trial that we are just about to see. But what does this say about the judicial system in our country?
I'll start with you, Ayo.
Yeah, okay, first of all, I think it's not really a problem about the judicial system, as it were, with our political system, because many of the decisions that we're taking before he was brought to court or before the appearance happened in court was not really the making of the judiciary. It was mainly the making of the executive. You saw the deployment of security operatives even a day before the court appearance. You also saw a heavy presence of the police and state security also on the day that the appearance was being made. So I would make the argument that that is not necessarily a problem with the judicial system. I think it's a problem with our political system. And this falls squarely on the table of the executive, because if you also follow the proceedings on that day, there was a list of media organizations that were accredited to cover the proceedings in court. And many reputable media organizations were stopped from gaining entry into the courtroom to cover, you know, the proceedings in court, and that was quite a letdown. It was shocking to see, and I think that we could have done better in that regard. I mean, I understand the sensitivity of the issue. I understand the stakes, but it could have been managed a lot better. So I'd rather not blame the judiciary. I would say it's a political issue, and that falls squarely on an executive that it's overly sensitive and has shown that it has a very thin skin in dealing with issues like this.
All right, thank you very much. Ayo, still stick with us because we've got Godi of us. Well, Godi, you just heard the sentiments, of Ayo. It might be political, but a judicial process has to go on because the man is in detention and he needs to go to trial. His case needs to be heard, fair or square.
Of course, it needs to be heard fair or square, Olisa. Again, you can't discuss this Nnamdi Kanu case in isolation. We have high-profile political cases still pending since 2015. You could talk about Dasuki Sambo, where is he? You could talk about Sasaki, where is he? But we know that in Nigeria, when a political case gets to the court, it could drag as long as you may not remember. I don't see this case coming to an end in a very few years. It's going to take a turn of the likes of El Zazaki and Dasuki. The same way, if Igbo is brought back to this country, because it's a very highly sensitive issue, you could see that the ethnic champions are beginning to queue behind this very highly inflammable political figure that we have today. So the judges are also very careful. They don't know where the pendulum will swing. They don't know the action they will take. You could see that if it was in a normal climb, you would have seen that the judge yesterday would have tongue-lashed the DSS for not producing Nnamdi Kanu. The reason wasn't given, even despite the fact that the prosecution lawyer was asking the judge to continue because he has weaknesses. How could you continue a case when you don't have the main character in the picture is not there to witness who is going to witness against him? That tantamount to secret trial. So I don't see any new turn of events. We're still going to be like El Zazaki, Dasuki, who's been in detention since 2015 without trial. And this government has had penchant for that. And I'm not expecting anything. It will continue to drag. I don't also think that the international community will do so much to help the situation because they've been largely very quiet.
Right. Now looking at, there's been other court proceedings in the past that has gone on in absentia, but let's quickly look at the stance of the law when it comes to detaining offenders. Now, quote unquote, let me quote one of what it says. It says, where the offense alleged is not a capital offense that is not punishable with life imprisonment or death, and you have already been detained for more than 48 hours, your lawyers should ask for your unconditional release or even demand that you be granted bail. Ayo, do you believe in what we're talking about here in terms of you have not been accused, you're still alleged, and the lawyer should even have access to you and you should be released unconditionally, especially if you've been held back for over 48 hours?
Well, I mean, I would totally agree with you that, there are several crimes that, after 48 hours, you should be released without, and you should have access to your lawyers. You're quite informed on that. Unfortunately, we're dealing with a case of high treason here and felony, which is by Nigerian law punishable by, almost the highest penalty in the land. So to that extent, it might be difficult to have that apply. Secondly, you also have to look at the background to which this case is also being tried at the moment. He was granted bail, if I recall, about 2 years ago. And, for some reason, he made his way outside the country, which he alleged his life was under threat when his home in Abia was attacked by men of the Nigerian army. So I'm sure that the prosecuting team would argue that it may be difficult to guarantee his appearance in court if he's given bail, just because of the mere fact that he had jumped bail once, and that might be difficult for them to guarantee that he will be brought to court when required. And I'm sure that's the kind of argument that the prosecution team will make. Of course, they would also make the argument that he's being charged for felony, and he's being charged for one of the most grievous offenses you can commit against one's country. So if you look at that, it will make it a bit difficult for the defense to argue for his bail, within that time frame of 48 hours. And again, let's not pretend not to know that this also has a political slant to it. And like, the case of El Sasaki and the case of many others, even like Yelesho Ware and many others who are being tried with political slants, these cases are going to linger. It will be difficult for you to have some sort of fair trial in the sense of being completely fair. So, the onus lies on the defense team to put up a very, very strong defense, to continue to make their case, to continue to argue for the fundamental rights, of their client, and then as the Nigerian people, the Nigerian media will also have to raise their voices and make the argument that such rights has to be respected, and that the man in question deserves a fair trial, whatever allegations have been leveled against him.
All right, Ayo, that offense clearly is treason, which is what the government are leveling against Nnamdi Kanu. But coming back to you, Godio, first, it seems like the government is yet to really properly have a defined case against Nnamdi Kanu. Hence, perhaps why they didn't produce him yesterday in court. Is this perhaps a red flag of some sort, looking at the nature of his case?
Yes, it is. It is. That brings me back to what happened in South Africa, Olisa. You know that the former president of South Africa, currently in prison, currently in jail, he didn't go to jail because of the corruption charges leveled against him. In fact, that case is still pending in court as we speak. He has actually gone to jail because of contempt. He refused to appear in court. So if the Nigerian government is very serious about this case, first and foremost, what he should have charged again, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, first and foremost, is for him to jump bail. He actually jumped bail. Someone stood a structure for him, and he couldn't produce him in court for 2 years. So if they want to go ahead with the case, with the original case, as it were, you will now see that it smacks of all manner of intent, and the government insincerity is everywhere on this case. So I feel that first and foremost, it should be brought to court. Take to the earlier court, the court of the first of his first appearance, where he was granted bail, for him to be tried first on jumping of bail. But that is not the case, Olisa. If you see, everywhere, everybody is talking about is the earlier case, treasonable felony, arm against the state, and the rest of it. At the end of the day, like Ayo said, we're going to go in a circle. We'll come back. At the end of the day, some president will come in and will grant these guys amnesty or whatever, or set them free. This government will not be able to handle this case. This case is too complicated. For me, the gray area for me is the ethnic champions queuing behind these guys, coming out to show support. So the case has assumed the life of its own. It's no longer the Nnamdi Kanu IPOB Biafra case. It's now being a regional case. It's now being taken from that perspective as the regional case, because
now you said quite a lot. I mean, Godi, you said quite a lot, and a lot of people share that sentiment. But Ayo, I mean, just yesterday we saw video clips. This was in Nnewi Axis in Anambra State. Video clips of how people were restricted from moving about, and this is sending a kind of body language. Now we all equally saw a strong delegation of IPOB leaders led by the former governor of Anambra State, Chukwuemeka Ezefe, at the court yesterday. What does this body language say about the Igbo stand in the whole process that we're seeing here unfold?
I think that we're dealing with a bigger problem than we would like to admit to ourselves. When trial of individuals are now perceived as trial of a particular region, then you're in a lot problem than you actually want to admit. Because yesterday, like you rightfully said, we saw a lot of solidarity from people from the Southeast. In fact, the delegation was even sent to Abuja, like you rightfully pointed, and many others across the Southeast stood in solidarity and were following the cases from their homes, from town halls, just to follow the proceedings from court. The same thing happened with the case of Sunday Igboho in Benin Republic. A delegation was sent by the Oba, the Olu of Ibadan, the Oba in Ife sent a delegation. You have they set up a legal team to put up a defense in favor of Sunday Igboho in Benin Republic. And I'm worried, and I'm deeply worried that Nigeria is fast becoming more fragmented than in my entire lifetime. I've never seen such fragmentation in my whole life. Maybe it's because I'm very, very young, who knows? But I've never seen this kind of fragmentation where you have regional players putting up defense against their own son, whether it's in the Southwest, whether it's in the Southeast. It just shows that there is a problem with the way the affairs of this country is being managed.
Right.
It shows that, you know, whether or not the facts of the case is a different thing entirely, but the way it's being handled is pushing this country to a point where we're becoming more regionalist, more isolationist, and that does not portend well for our country, doesn't portend well for national unity, and it's pushing us to a more disintegrated situation, and it's sad.
Well, we'll just have to wait, right? 21st of October, Nnamdi Kanu to be, heard in court. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Ayo Adio, yes, managing editor, and also current affairs analyst, Godi Ofosse, for coming on Breakfast. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
A pleasure. Thank you.